Good morning everyone. Welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Welcome to the Hindu analysis of 8 July 2024. Let us look at the articles that we are going to cover today. Today the main topics, all the 4 topics that we are going to cover, they are those news which we have covered in the last few days. For example, the first one, old traditions, new ties. It is about Indo-Russia ties. As you all know, Prime Minister is traveling to Russia today and tomorrow. And this editorial is with regards to Indo-Russia ties only. So we have already discussed this many times. Second, winds of change. This is about Iran's presidential election. And again, a topic which we have discussed in the last few days. The third one, the ANRF plan has got off on the wrong foot. Last week only we discussed this also. The fourth one, representation of women in the Lok Sabha. Now, another topic which we have discussed many times in the past and not much over here. We'll not go into every political party, how many seats they have won and everything. Overall, we should have some idea about women representation in the Lok Sabha. Moving ahead, beyond this, the first is red flags raised over runaway silver imports from UAE through Gift City. So, one news item and we shall see what exactly is happening from UAE and why silver imports are only happening through the Gift City. Second one, for science, graphene, a simple wonder. Already questions have been asked on this. Very important news article. Third, coffee table book on over 1200-year-old Samayapuram Maraman temple released. So we shall see where exactly is this temple. And the final fourth topic in prelims analysis would be Big Shot. It is about a volcano that's erupting in Europe. In fact, 2 volcanoes we shall be talking about here. Let us begin with the first one, old traditions, new ties. Now, see everything. I'm very sure tomorrow, day after tomorrow in news, there would be a lot of news items related to Indo-Russia. So this is not something which should surprise anyone, and we shall be studying many things here. So if anyone does not want to read this article today, no problems. But I'll give you a good analysis of this. As you know, Prime Minister is traveling to Moscow. I've already told you, this is the 3rd term of Prime Minister. And in his 3rd term, first visit that he is doing is of Russia. Usually, the tradition is that Indian Prime Ministers in their first visit travel in the neighborhood. But that tradition is being broken and Prime Minister is traveling to Russia, where he'll participate in annual summits. Now please understand, breaking the tradition, not going in the neighborhood countries. You know, usually the Prime Minister's standalone visits are usually in the India's neighborhood. Starting the annual summit, which is the 22nd summit between India and Russia, and first since Ukraine war began. The last one, 21st, just to give you an idea, was in Delhi, December 2021. So, you can understand this is directly after the war that had begun almost 2 years ago. So, this summit is happening after almost 2.5 years. If anyone is thinking, did our Prime Minister not meet Mr. Putin in this? No, he has met him once in the SCO summit, which was organized in Uzbekistan. Mr. Modi had met Mr. Putin, where famously he had said that this was not the era of war. Now, Prime Minister is going over there. Invariably talks would happen. Let us see what all are our concerns right now. Our first concern is Moscow ties with Beijing is growing. You know, this is our biggest concern because Moscow is continuously, getting more and more dependent on Beijing. And with Beijing, we have LSE issues. Of course, okay, I'll take this. Our second concern, we will take stock of the Ukraine war. this is an opportunity to see where is Russia right now with regards to this war. Third, I said bilateral talks would be there. This might be related to trade, energy, defense supplies, and space cooperation. We know for space cooperation specifically Gaganyaan project. Sorry, Gaganyaan project. Now, please understand these are some of the greatest concerns for us. Now, just to give you an example, let's say defense. Headway is happening with regards to made in India. Russian assault rifles are being made in India. BrahMos missiles are being made here. But our concern is right now, because the war is going on with Ukraine, we are always worried about the reliability of supplies. Similarly, when you talk about trade, the payments issue come into picture. Many times in the past, last week also we have discussed under the bilateral issue, the Indian recruitments that have happened in the Russian army, that also would be, picked up. So these are the biggest issues when it comes to Indo-Moscow ties right now. Now, let me take white only. Apart from this, while Prime Minister is traveling to Moscow, at the same time, and I'm drawing a line here, tomorrow, that is Tuesday, US President Mr. Joe Biden is going to welcome the NATO countries for the group's 75th anniversary. Now just think, optics. 9th July, on one hand, the Western world would be meeting and, celebrating this 75th anniversary of NATO. On the same day, our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, would be there in Russia. See, please understand. Invariably, this alliance will show its show of strength. They would demonstrate Russia's isolation. Of course, there would be Ukrainian president also here. And on the same day, our Prime Minister would be in Russia. So you can understand what Mr. Modi is trying to achieve through this is the balancing act. How the balancing act? If you remember, he went to G7 summit outreach. He sent official delegation to Bergenstock Peace Summit. So we are with the West also, but then we cannot leave Russia. See, always remember, Russia and Indian ties come from 1971 Soviet Union Peace and Friendship Treaty. And under this only, you all know, India has till date never condemned this Russian aggression. Whether it is at UN or any other multilateral forums, whether it is, any other forums, you can talk about them. And we have continuously engaged with Russia bilaterally and in groups like SCO, BRICS, G20. So all the eyes is going to be on Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi, that through this visit, he may aid, help in ending this conflict that has divided the world. Trust me everyone, whatever is written on this slide, just this is more than sufficient for you. You can leave this article, no need to read anything. This much if you remember. And of course, tomorrow and day after tomorrow, when I'll be covering Russia again and again based on the talks that happened today, done. Similarly, if I move ahead and let's go to Iran. Winds of change. Again, I'll write only 4 or 5 lines and that's more than sufficient. You all know Masoud Pezeshkian. He is a reformist leader who has become the new president of Iran. After the death of Mr. Raisi in the helicopter crash, there was elections. And a reformist has become the president of Iran. He opposes moral policing as far as the women are concerned. Calls for engagement rather than confrontation with the Western world. And this shows that Iran, which is plagued by economic woes and social tensions, is still capable of springing a surprise. Now, I'll give you 2-3 more lines, and that is more than sufficient here. Now, you all know, when it comes to Iran, there are 2 major groups. One, which are called the conservatives, also known as principalists. And they oppose any reform. Against these people, in the past we have seen a lot of protests that have happened. Now, on the other hand, you have reformist. And this man, Mr. Masoud, who is representing the reformists, they call for change. Though I must reiterate, Mr. Masood's experience is very limited. He was only a cabinet minister in the government of Mr. Khatami. But then, in the presently conducted elections, he got almost 54% of votes and became the new president. Now, the thing what has happened in Iran is, of late, people are not going to vote. People think if they vote also, ultimately conservatives only will come to power. So their voting is meaningless. But what has happened is, you know, in the first phase of this election, 40% people voted. But when they saw that there is a chance that a reformist can become the president, almost 50% voter turnout happened in the second runoff elections. And Mr. Masood defeated Mr. Jalili. What does this show? This voting percentage going up clearly demonstrates that the voters have high hopes from Mr. Masood that he might, be able to make some changes, because he has been speaking against the way, moral policing is happening, the way security personals have handled all the protests. He wants to have talks. You all know, Western world, when Barack Obama was the president of US around 2015, the historic nuclear deal was clinched. But then Mr. Trump came to power, and in 2018, they moved away from this. Now, this man, Mr. Masood, talks about engagement with the Western world. But then again, let me make one thing very, very clear. Whoever comes to power, always remember that in Iran, it is the clerics who control the power. Supreme leader, Mr. Khomeini, has almost all the powers. But yet, this is a signal to the clergy also to reach some common ground with the common people who want change rather than confrontation, and who want that their economic problems should be taken care of rather than this, I would say, clashes, because Iran, if you see, is involved in the Houthi rebel crisis in Yemen. Iran, through its proxies like Hezbollah, is there in Lebanon also. Similarly, if you see, indirectly, directly, they are involved in the Gaza crisis also. So, because of all this, continuously, the common man of Iran, the common people of Iran, they keep on suffering. So, through this voting, what they have tried to give this indication to their leadership is, please, achieve some common ground, try to improve our situation, because you all must have studied the Islamic revolution that happened in the late 70s is now almost, if I say, 45 years old, and the revolution is aging, and the leaders have to understand that. That's very, very important. Moving ahead, ANRF plan has got off on the wrong foot. Mr. Binay Panda, professor at the JNU, writes this. Now, please understand, last week also we discussed this. What is ANRF? Anushandhan National Research Foundation. Please understand, this, cut this, by mistake it came. Because in 2023, both the houses of parliament had passed this bill. Anusandhan, research. So this is for what? This is an initiative to seed, grow, and facilitate research in India, specifically when it comes to your universities and the colleges. Now, before this bill, in 2019 itself, the National Research Foundation project report had explicitly mentioned that the growing outstanding research cells already existing at state universities is one of the ANRF's top priority. Now, you all know scientific community had welcomed this initiative by the government. Now, something happened last week based on which we have covered this news 2 times in the last 1 week. And as you can see here also, they are saying wrong foot. It has started on wrong foot, and he is pointing out to 2 major things. One, lack of industry representation, and another, R&D underfunding. So you can see I have taken 2 slides. One is lack of industry representation, and another is R&D funding. Please understand, these 2 lines you should remember. Number 1. As I said, government made an announcement of 15-member governing body, and government only announced a 16-member executive council. The problem that the person is, the professor at JNU is writing is that in this, both the bodies, the problem is absence of organization. The ANRF had hoped to aid and facilitate. Now they have given examples. See, I don't want you to get into this. See here. For example, the ANRF aims to strengthen the research infrastructure of universities, even acknowledging that more than 95% of the students attend state universities and colleges. The board and executive council do not have any members from central or state universities or colleges. I'll write this, don't worry. Similarly, if you see here, in the next slide, they are writing, they are represented by people who are usually in high-powered committees of the GOI, Secretary from Science Department, Department of Science and Technology, Department of Biotech, Department of Scientific and Industrial Research, Earth Sciences, Agriculture, Health Research, Atomic Energy, New and Renewable Energy, Electronics, Information Technology, Higher Education, Defense Research, Development, Directors of Indian Institute of Science, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Chair of the Indian Council of Historic Research, Princeton Mathematics Professor. Again, I am saying, I would not remember this much. Why should I remember who all are there? I should remember only one line. That one line is, absence of these people, that is state or central universities or college representation is absent. Now I mention all these secretaries of all the departments are there, but the writer is saying that if you don't bring these people, it is these people who understand the bottlenecks. In the system, what are the problems specifically in the universities? It is the people, they understand, and they have not been given the place, so this is not correct. Second point, under this only the author says is that ANRF should not go on formation of multiple committees. Rather, they should form single committee to formulate plus make any strategy. So the first and major thing that they are saying is absence of, the representation from state and central universities or colleges. Similarly, they are saying industry representation is also inadequate. Industry representation. They have mentioned that there is only one representative, a Indian American businessman, Mr. Romesh T. Vadvani, and there is only a single women representative, the Secretary of DSIR. Apart from that, there is no representation from these. So please remember the first and the foremost point: lack of industry representation, lack of representation from universities and colleges, lack of diversity, and the second biggest reason that they are saying is R&D underfunding. See, India overall underfunds the research and development. The writer says that we need to increase our funding to almost 4% of GDP. And then only there can be a boost to research, there can be a boost to innovation. And again, they say for this, for ANRF, there should be adequate staffing. There should be robust grant management system. There should be a standard peer review system. Research grants should be disbursed on time. All this is missing. So they are saying that though it has started, but at the very beginning, this ANRF is starting on a wrong foot. So the suggestion is a complete overhaul is required so that it does not become any other government department and is able to achieve its objective for which it was made. So that's the article talking about. Moving ahead, see, there are 4 tables here. If you see, this is the representation of women in Lok Sabha. The table 1, representation of women in every Lok Sabha. Now if you see, the historic low as far as the women representation is not in the first Lok Sabha 4.5, but rather in the 6th Lok Sabha. Even 5th Lok Sabha was less than 4.5. So I'm giving you some facts here. Whenever you talk about representation of women, talk about that the 6th Lok Sabha, and I'll mention here. See, what all you have to remember: 1st Lok Sabha around 4.5%, 6th Lok Sabha the lowest 3.51. Of course, you would you will remember this one. 18th Lok Sabha, present Lok Sabha has 13.63% of women MPs, 74 MP. And the highest was last Lok Sabha, 17th, which had 78 MPs, 14.36%. So if you all ask me, table 1 gives me 4 numbers to be remembered: 1st, 6th, 17th and 18th Lok Sabha. Rest you can forget. Another thing you can remember is last 4 Lok Sabhas all had more than 10% representation of women. That's one fact that you have to remember from this. This will be a very good substantial point in your mains answers with regards to women. Now come to table 2. Table 2 talks about women wise, candidates and their representation. And if you see here, BJP had 69 candidates, that is overall 15.7% of their candidates were women. Congress had 12.3, 19 is also given on the right side. Again, you don't have to remember. I will give you the party which had the highest representation was Trinamool Congress. Every fourth candidate of Trinamool was a woman. 12 candidates, 25.5%. Third, if you see here, the success rate of the women. Now, if you see the success rate, BJP has the highest number of women MPs, 31, and their success rate is 44.9. Trinamool has, out of 12 candidates, women, 11 of them won, so theirs is 92%. Of course, DMK, JDU 3-3 and TDP 1, they all had 100, but out of this table 3, remember two numbers. For BJP, success rate is 45%, for Trinamool Congress, 92%. Lastly, party-wise, the same thing, it has been given 31, 13, 11, the same thing here, what is mentioned is again given over here. Remember, forget this fourth thing. Why we are studying this? We are studying this so that we can, tomorrow if we are writing any answer on women, we should be knowing this. So table 1, and I'm giving you this for you. We have to remember first Lok Sabha, 4.5% were women. 6th Lok Sabha, 3.51% were women. 17th had 14.36% women. 18th had 13.63. This is the historic lowest. This is the historic highest. These are the numbers that you should remember. Number 2 table, I want you to remember highest percentage of women candidates out of total candidates. Who gives? Trinamool Congress. 25.5% of their candidates were women. Second was Samajwadi Party at 21.9% were women candidates. BJP, the largest party, you should remember, 15.7%. Table 3, BJP, largest number of women MP. 31 women MPs as far as BJP was concerned. Do remember Trinamool Congress had, out of 12 women candidates, 11 of theirs won. So this gives almost 91.6% of their candidates winning. For BJP, this number was 44.9. Lastly, parties like JDU, because they had very few candidates, DMK and TDP, 2, 3, 1, they had this as 100%. If you don't remember also, no problems. Forget this article, just remember this many points. This many points, if you remember, any question on women representation in Lok Sabha, you can be able to, give correct answer and very good answer with this data. That's the thing, nothing more is required. And if one more thing I would remember overall this, 18th Lok Sabha had 74 MPs, 17th had 78 MPs. This is the number. If you want this, I'll write for first also 22, and for 6th it was 19th. Never below, 19th it has gone. So this is the number as far as your Lok Sabhas are concerned. Moving ahead. Prelims topics. Now, number 1, red flags raised over runaway silver imports from UAE. Now, what is happening is, please understand, when it comes to our bullion market, and specifically under this, the silver imports, this article says almost all of the silver imports as far as India is concerned is being handled by few private players. They bring this white metal from Dubai in India through Gift City Exchange. Now, our trade body has raised question on this. They are saying that please do a probe as far as which are the export groups, which are the import groups, and they are saying this may cause significant revenue loss to the exchequer over some time. So if I give you some number, India imports gold and silver from UAE, and this imports of India has jumped 210% in 2023-24 to $10.7 billion. Out of this $10.7 billion, $5.4 billion is alone silver. So almost 50% of this is silver. So whatever is imported silver and gold from UAE, 50% is silver, 50% is gold. Now in the month of May, 87% of India's global silver imports came from Dubai. So you can understand, whatever is coming to India of that 87% is coming from Dubai. And this is at a reduced 8% duty. They were cleared through Gift City Exchange in Gandhinagar, which has been clearing all the silver imports from UAE since December 2023. So just imagine, December 23 report is of March 2024. So within 5 months, Gift City has got almost 87% of every item of silver that is coming to India is being imported through this. Import from other countries and ports are virtually abandoned. So now you can understand there is a big issue. Now let me tell you what is the key concern. The key concern is that how are these imports that are happening as far as India getting cleared only through Gift City? Why is it that Gift City only is able to fulfill the rules of origin that are required, and this is specified under India UAE CEPA, whereas importers from all other ports, they fail in getting this? It is being mentioned India levies a 15% import duty on silver, and only those institutes which are nominated by RBI and Directorate General of Foreign Trade, they only can import this. But then here also there is an issue that those who are doing this from Gift City Exchange, they do not need to limit imports to these bodies which are nominated by RBI or DGFT. So this is another problem. And they are saying that this slowly and slowly, when this tariff would move to zero in the next 8 years, most probably all the silver will be imported through Gift City, whatever silver is coming from UAE. And this probe body is saying that this would cause almost a 6,700 crore loss as far as India is concerned, as far as our exchequer is concerned. So these are the points that they are raising with regards to this issue. Let us move to the next one. Graphene, a science simple wonder, very, very important, versatile material which is known to humankind. Please understand some scientific terms like you must have studied about allotropes. When the same element can exist in different forms, the forms are called allotropes. So graphene is one allotrope of carbon, the other allotropes are diamond and graphite. So all these are different allotropes of carbon. Now as I said, it's a very, very versatile material. As a nanomaterial, you can see it is stronger than diamond, more conductive than silver, more elastic than rubber, lighter than aluminium, and that's why many people call it wonder material. Please, for prelims, remember both these lines. The qualities of graphene that you should remember, what it's allotrope of carbon, which are the other allotropes. Now please understand, graphene has some peculiar properties. That is, physicists have found that when one sheet of graphene it is placed above another sheet and rotated by 1.1 degree, not Celsius, 1.1 degree related to the bottom layer, that is if this is rotated by let's say 1.1 degree, the stack becomes superconductor at a lower temperature. So they can also be used as a superconductor. So please remember, these are certain properties of graphene that you should remember for your prelims exam. Moving ahead, coffee table book on over 1200-year-old Samayapuram Maraman temple released. Now please understand, where is this temple? This temple is at Tiruchi, and we don't have to remember or learn about this book, but then this is about goddess Maraman, also known as Mother Goddess. Now this temple, it's almost 1200 years old, has historical past with interesting legends that are woven around the goddess Maraman. She is believed to be incarnation of goddess Durga, Mahakali, Adi Shakti or Nishumbha Studhini. So please, for prelims, just remember this much, that this Samayapuram temple is near Tiruchi, and here you have goddess Maraman, who is also known as the mother goddess. Last topic with regards to geography or environment, Mount Etna, the largest active volcano in Europe. Recently it erupted, which resulted into the airport at Sicily being closed. Now this Mount Etna, it's a very soaring 3.3 kilometer high volcano, has erupted many times in the recent past. Apart from this Mount Etna, which is the largest active volcano in Europe, please remember this fact, there is another Mount Stromboli. This is another volcano near Sicily only, and this also got erupted and had created a lot of ash clouds. Now Mount Stromboli is known for being one of the only nearly constantly active volcanoes in the world. So just two lines, but one line on Etna and another on Stromboli, both coming from your Italy. Please remember about them. Moving ahead, let us look at the two main questions. The first one, Russia's Far East region is economically and strategically important for India to counter China in the region. Comment, 150 words, 10 marker. Question number 2, discuss the improvements in women's representation in the legislature remain intrinsic to constitutional ideals of gender equality and social justice. Attempt this question in 250 words, 15 marker. That's all from today's news analysis. Tomorrow again, same time, same venue. Till then, goodbye. Do like the video, do like and comment if you know whatever your reactions are. That's all from today. Thank you. Goodbye.